right, welcome back to another episode of Guitar Fundamentals. Today we're going to be talking about how to enhance kind of your guitar playing when you're playing rhythm guitar, whether by yourself or accompanying someone. Just some cool tricks I've learned down the line, and hopefully, you can steal them from me because I stole them from other people. So here we go. We're going to be talking about seventh chords. Now, before you stop this video or roll your eyes, we're going to talk about some really cool things, put them in place. It's a kind of a combination lesson of a lot of different things, but nonetheless how they come together in music and on your guitar neck. So today we're going to be talking in the key of A, all right? I for some reason I like talking about the key of A when I'm doing like these types of lessons. All right, so the chords in the key of A are coming up right on the screen, all right? And so you have A, you have B minor, C sharp minor, D, E, F sharp minor, and G sharp diminished. Now I do have a video where I talk about taking that G sharp diminished and kind of taking it out and putting in the seventh chord of the 5, which would be an E7. And that video will be linked right here. Very common move to do, and that video discusses it. So for this video, we're actually going to use that mentality. A, B minor, C sharp minor, D, E major, F sharp minor, and we're going to use an E7. All right. And so if you have any questions, just check out the video I pointed to, and that will straighten everything out, I think. All right. So excuse me, I want to say, I got something in my eye. I want to say that even though we're playing in a key right now, you can do this. If you have a song where it's not in a key, you can really apply this to any moment in time. Just takes a little bit of trial and error. All right, so the first chord in the key of A is the A major. Now, when you extend a chord out, what that means is this A major has 3 notes in it, okay? These are called triads. All these chords, majors and minors, are triads. These triads, you can add a 4th note to it, and when you do, it becomes what's called a 7th chord. I have another video discussing 7th chords right up here as well. And in the key, the 1 chord can be also played as a major 7th. All right, so the 1 in the key of A is A. We can also play an A major 7th. Now let's just talk about the 1 chord. Why do you want to put an A major 7th in? Well, there are certain scenarios. I'm not going to lie to you, it's rare. It happens, but it's rare to start a song off just on an A major 7. You're going to find in scenario number 1 that usually a song starts off and there's a vocal line, and when the vocal line will take a breath, you kind of add a little bit of flair by dancing between the A major and the A major 7. And so I'm a terrible singer, but you can picture a song where the person is definitely singing right here, he's singing or she's singing, and then they stop, they're still on the 1 chord, but they go to the A major 7. Right? And you can hear that we can change a little bit of momentum of the song, kind of staying to the same chord, but adding a little bit of flavor by using the major 7th on the 1. Now, in case you're curious, you have your A chord here. A major 7 is you just drop that, you drop the A to a G sharp. So from the A string, 0, 2, 1, 2. All right. So another reason that you would use a major 7th is if your melody line, if all of a sudden you're playing a song and you hear, you come in on this note, like you're singing, da, or there is a guitar part that comes in on the G sharp that you've designed, then usually, okay, you're going to come in on the A major 7th, and you're going to help that melody kind of like bond to the chords. And so the first chord, the 1 chord, we find that the A major 7 or the major 7th is an acceptable extension, and because that's the way music works, and we don't just come in with it because we can. You don't want to color music with 7 chords just because you can. There's that saying, just because you should, maybe, what's the saying? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. There you go, something to that extent. And so as we discover 7th chords, you might want to put major 7ths and minor 7ths and dominant 7ths everywhere, but really there's an art to it. All right, and so the last thing I'll say, which is for the 1 chord actually, which goes for every chord we're going to discuss, is just the movement, when it's time for movement. If I'm going from an A, let's say, to a D, you might have this song A, and then right before it goes to D, just a little bit of movement. That movement can help really like shape the song, but also it's not going to be threatening because it's either an A or an A major 7th. We've talked enough about the 1 chord. Let's talk about the 2 chord, which is a B minor. Now the B minor can be played several ways. You can play with the bar here. If you're like me and sometimes you just want to be lazy and get the job done, we can play like this, 2, 3, and 4, all right, and strum from the D string. All right, you can play like that. Wherever you are is fine. And so the second chord can be extended out from a minor to a minor 7th. Now, if you're doing this, you're going to have to kind of play 2, 3, 4 and get your pinky up on that high E string on the 5th fret. You can pick up your first finger and have 4, 3, 5. That is an acceptable B minor 7th. If you're playing a bar chord, you can lift up your pinky. If you're playing this guy, you can actually just strum from the A string as well, and that's a minor 7th. So that would be a B minor 7th. Well, let's just talk about when we, go from a B minor to a B minor 7th. Same scenarios, all right? The 2 chord is going to be either B minor, and if you want to create a little bit of movement, you can. But we just don't want to use it just because we can. Yes, 7th chords are intriguing. There's 4 notes, but remember, the more notes you add to a chord, the more it starts to get a little bit more muddy. All the notes start to compete for which one is more important, and that's why 9th chords sound so muddy. And we can get into 9th chords in another video. But in this, the 2 chord, okay? The 2 chord, again, minor or minor 7th. We find that you can come in definitely with a minor 7th. Why? Well, if the melody uses that minor 7th. In this case, the minor 7th is an A. If you have a song that on the, B minor, say you're in the key of A, on the B minor, it's, you have this, it's an A. Okay, well, let's bring in the minor 7th in the chord to help the melody stick to the chords. Also, movement. If I have a song from A, D, and then B minor 7. All right, it just helps move those last final beats, right? Those last final beats. And just to let you know, this goes for the same thing for the 3 chord. In this case, C sharp minor, same exact thing, okay? You can, if you have a melody that has the minor 7th in it, in this case, that would be a B. Say you have a 3 chord, and you're like, okay, my melody I hear has a, well, that's the minor 7th. Okay, we can put it in. You can play a cool one like this, but also to create movement. All right, you can hear that, yes, 7th chords, work, but using them to help move a song is really intriguing. I'm just kind of showing you my observations. Let's get to the 4 chord. I know it's kind of cheap and dirty on the 3 chord. I'm sorry, 3 chord, but you and the 2 are in the same category. All right, the 4 chord, really interesting stuff. I'm going to talk about some cheats here. All right, so in the key of A, the 4 chord is the D. The 7th chord that you can build on the 4 chord, that sounded so snobby. In the key of A, the 4th chord is D. And when we extend it out to a 7th chord, it becomes a D major 7. Okay, open D, then 2, 2, 2. Now, we can use this just as we talked about if we need a little bit of movement. All right, D to D major 7. The 4 chord, okay, this is where I'm going to go outside the box, it's also totally cool to play not only a major 7th, but a suspended 4th, where I put the pinky down on the 4. Lift this middle finger up. This is called a D sus2. So the 4 chord, there's a lot of options. The 4 chord in general likes to move places. So you can create a lot of movement with not just a major, but a major 7th kick, or a major. With all those options, the 4 chords are really cool. So as a 7th chord, it's a major 7th, all right? And you don't want to just come in with a major 7th. Now we have one more trick to talk about, but it's rare to come in with just a major 7th, and I want to talk about that rarity. To make this 4 chord come in strong with a major 7th, I see this a lot, all right? And again, all these rules can be broken, can be played with, but I see that if you want to go to the 4 chord as a major 7th, you usually come from the 1 chord as a major 7th. They have these gentle, close just on a clothesline, flying in the breeze type sound. That's what I think about with major 7th. And so, if you have an A as the 1 chord, and then you do it usually sounds really good when you go to the 4 chord as a major 7th from the 1 chord as a major 7th. If you made it this far, I am so sorry. I'm listening to what I'm saying and I'm like, my God, this sounds so just heavy, but it's not. They're just observations, all right? I have the videos linked in the up here, like I point to, also down below. If you're like almost getting these concepts, we need a little bit of a kick in the behind to get them. All right, let's go to that 5 chord. Now, the 5 chord is a very, very important chord in music. It's really what brings the tension and turns things around and goes from verses to choruses and build tension. And so in the key of A, we have the E chord. All right, and that E chord can be played as an E7. There's several ways to play an E7. You can just play an E chord and lift your ring finger. You can keep your ring finger lifted and put your pinky also on the 3rd fret of the B string. You can play your normal E chord and put your pinky on the B string as well. If you listen to Obla Di Obla Da by the Beatles, you'll hear this like, so there's the trick I was just talking about. You know, you're on a 5 chord, great. You're going to be going maybe back to a 1 or moving. So what do? They play the 5 chord, and then the second half, they play the 5 chord as the dominant 7th chord. It really creates movement. So when you're in a song, if you're playing with a bunch of people, if you're writing a song and there's 2 bars of E, you're doing this, and all of a sudden, you can do that safely, like really safely, and help move the music. So the 5 chord, again, to come in on the E7 is not strange, but you hear a lot where the 5 chord is played as the major and then the 7th. As a matter of fact, I'm going to change keys on you for a second. In Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison, you have this, and then you have this D chord, which is the 5 chord. In this key, it's a separate key. It's key of G, and you'll hear the D to the D7. So it's that setup and spike. Usually when you hit a 5 chord, it's usually started off as major, then goes into the dominant 7th, which is the 7th chord for the 5 chord. I hate saying that, and it moves, all right? And then the last chord, the 6th chord, just to let you know, same thing as the 2 and 3 chord. It can be played as a minor or a minor 7th. Now, F sharp minor bar chords are kind of brutal. You can kind of do this if you want to. It's whatever F sharp minor chord you like. But here's the F sharp minor full bar chord. You can pick your pinky up. You can put your pinky on that 5th fret of the B. Whatever works, but it's the same exact thing. You can come in on the F sharp minor and then right as the bar is about to change, and so all these 7 chords have a lot of things to offer in terms of music, a lot of color, but also movement. I will say this. I'll say this. Just because you can play 7th chords doesn't mean you can throw them in and have them sound good. Yes, there's a lot of color, but you want to utilize that color by, comparing and contrasting to the chords that you're playing and adding them so it kind of perks their ear up or your ear up. That last chord, which should be a G sharp diminished, we're going to do the E7 chord like this, and so anytime you have a 7th chord in there, which is rare, but if you write music kind of like the Beatles and they use diminished chords, it's the same exact thing. That E7 or that G sharp diminished is going to move things somewhere. So I don't really talk about that chord a lot, but I have a diminished chord video linked right up here that explains its role and where it comes from. And so I just wanted to talk to you for, 14 minutes or so, that to enhance your songs or to enhance the moments in songs when you're playing with yourself or somebody else, 7th chords can really do the trick, but you got to know when and why they work. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, like I said, make sure you share or subscribe. If you want to practice this stuff with me, you can practice with me on Patreon, where I have tons of practice sessions for all the videos I make on YouTube. With that being said, thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk very soon. Bye-bye.